is going to be the books that I've read throughout November and also on holiday. So yesterday we just got back from having 2 weeks in Mexico, which was amazing, and I really wanted to get these videos recorded so I can get them up because I'm not really going to have much time to film between now and Christmas. So quite a few books to show, so I'm just going to jump right in and try and do a little mini review of each. So the first 3 books are books I read before we went away. We went on the 21st of November and came back on the 6th of November, or 6th of December. So in that time you'll be able to see how many books I read. So first 3 before I went. The first one is Agatha Christie's Sparkling Cyanide. So this is about a woman who dies during a meal at the dinner table, and it's all about how they're trying to solve the murder after it's happened. To be honest, I can't quite remember this. I gave this 4 out of 5 stars, so that was a good thing. I'm just going to see if I wrote any notes on it, because a few of these books I did, so I remember. I didn't, so I can't really remember too much about this, except for obviously trying to figure out who would have killed this lady and why, because obviously she had some money that was like a lot of money that was left, and they were wondering who had the motive to kill her. So just sort of one of your typical Agatha Christie books. The next book is On the Other Side by Carrie Hope Fletcher. I was really excited to read something that was fictional from her, and this is about a lady. She's about 80, and she knows that she's dying, or that she has died, and then the book sort of surrounds her being in sort of this middle stage between being alive and being either in heaven or hell. It's like what they call the waiting room, and people go there to resolve things that they've maybe kept secrets, or just unresolved feelings or events that have happened in their life. It sort of helps them resolve that before they can move on. I will see what I gave this on Goodreads, because obviously there was a lot. I gave this 4 out of 5 stars, so really, really good. So it goes back to when she was about 25 and all these things that were left unsaid, and it just sort of reminds you to sort of live in the moment, to never go without sort of saying something, to make sure things are resolved, and things are said to people, because you never know what's going to happen. And I did really enjoy this book. I flew through it pretty quickly, and I think that she's just brought out like a little Christmas special edition of like one of the other characters in this book, just like a short like novella to go with it, so I might pick that up at some point. And then the final book I read before we went away was Replica by Lauren Oliver. Obviously I was really intrigued to read this, as it was something completely different from the other things that I've read from Lauren Oliver, and this is sort of told by 2 people. You've got Lyra and then you've got Gemma, and so you can read either Lyra first and Gemma, or Gemma then Lyra, or you can read their chapters intertwined. So I read Lyra first, and this is about, Lyra is essentially a clone. She lives in this facility off the coast of Florida, I believe, where they have cloned all these people, or bred these people, and they're testing them. We're not quite sure what for, but we know that there's something not quite going on that's right with the government there. So I'll just say a little bit quickly about this book. So yeah, she is in the Haven, and then Gemma is just your ordinary girl. She lives more of an ordinary life, but she finds out that her dad has had something to do with Haven, and she just wants to investigate more about it. She's like a pretty good girl. She gets bullied quite a bit, but her life seems pretty normal in that sense until she finds out this little bit about her father. So personally I really enjoyed reading Lyra than Gemma. Obviously I can't say which is the best way. Everyone has their own ways of reading it. Personally I feel it was better for me to read Lyra, because you were thrown into this world you sort of never known about, and then you just get filled in a bit more from Gemma's point of view. But even though it's a big book, I flew through it pretty quickly, and some of the bits obviously do intertwine and repeat sort of the same things just from their different perspectives. I do believe this is a trilogy. What is it? Triology. Oh my gosh, total jet lag is set in. She can't think of the name, but I think it's a trio of books that she's going to be bringing out, and this is obviously the first one. I won't go into too much about it because it would spoil some things, but yeah, I did enjoy that. And then onto the ones I read on holiday, so these are more fresh in my mind. The first one is Miranda Hot Peggy Me, and I gave this 4 out of 5 stars. It was a really sort of light-hearted read. It's basically all about Miranda being a dog owner, what it's like to have her dog Peggy around, who is super, super cute. And if you're a dog lover, it's a really cute book. Definitely a book to put on your Christmas wish list. I have read her other book that she wrote, and it is different from that. But obviously you can still hear Miranda's voice like as you're reading it. And again, I flew through this in probably like a day. And if you're, like I said, if you're a dog owner, you can relate to these things that she mentions in here, and it's just a very quick, easy read if you sort of like those. So the next book I read was The Girl on the Train, and I gave this 5 stars by, and this is by Paula Hawkins. This has obviously been on my to-be-read list for quite a while. Everyone's been talking about it. It was made into a film, of which now I want to see. I really, really enjoyed this. It was slightly different to what I thought it was going to be. I thought it was going to be about this girl called Rachel who she gets the train every day to work. I thought it was going to be that she sees a murder while she's on the train, and then she's sort of taken in, and that's where it went. But it's much more like intriguing and complicating than that. Her train actually passes her old house in which her ex-husband lives with his now new wife, and she also passes this house of people that I don't think she actually knew in the first place, but she sort of creates, her imagination creates a sort of lifestyle for them, and she creates up like who she thinks they are, what they do, because she sees them so often. Goes past on the train, and obviously there is someone that goes missing, and just it was a really, really good, very twisting and turning. I felt like throughout the book I was second guessing everyone as to what happened. And Rachel is very alcoholic, and she has these sort of blackout moments, so it's all about her also trying to find out what happens within those blackouts, because obviously she can't remember when she gets that drunk, and she knows that something happened in this blackout that revolved around this missing girl, and she knows just something isn't quite right. And you get the perspective mostly from Rachel, also from the girl Megan, who's the girl that goes missing. So you see her life as well leading up to her disappearance. I found it really, really interesting. Definitely recommend that book. If you haven't seen the film, or if you have, I can't really compare them. But yeah, I do want to see the film now. The next book I read was Room by Emma Donoghue. I believe I gave this 5 out of 5 stars. I did. I loved this book. I actually saw the film on the plane, which I'll talk about a little bit in a minute. But this is about a woman who we pretty much know just as Ma, and she lives in this room which turns out to be a shed in this man's back garden, and she has been captured in there for 5 years. In that 5 years she has been sexually abused by him and now has his child. The child is called Jack. He is now 5, and it basically is, the whole book is told from Jack's perspective, which I thought was really interesting. I thought it would be more sort of kiddified, but it actually worked so well in not only showing his perspective and what is important to a 5-year-old and what they see, but also it does talk about like some of the serious topics that went on, and it does allude to some things that which in your imagination you sort of have to fill in anyway. The story just shows how they managed to cope within Room, which I find really, really interesting to see how people adapt. Obviously, this is all Jack's ever known. He thinks the world is Room, and when his mum tries to explain to him that there is a whole universe out there beyond those 4 walls, he like gets very angry with his mum. And she tries to, now he's 5, she tries to conjure up a plan to get them out. I won't tell you any more than that because I don't want to spoil it, but I did absolutely love the book, loved the film. I managed to download it on Amazon Prime so I could watch it on the plane on the way back. And I thought the woman who plays the mum in it was so good. A very good actress, I thought. I'm not quite sure what her name is. And the little boy, again, was really, really good in it, and it was just a very gripping film, very heartwarming. When I won't spoil it if you've not seen or read it, but there is that turning point towards the end when they are back together, and it just, you have a little tear in your eye, and then obviously you see the end bit, which if you've seen the book or read the book or seen the film, you know what I'm talking about. But I just loved this book. I'm definitely going to be keeping this one. So the next book I read was by Jojo Moyes, and this is After You. So in October I did read Me Before You, and I saw the film, and I was hesitant to read this because I was like, how are they going to do a film? Like, spoiler if you've not read the first book or seen the film, but how are they not gonna, like, how are they supposed to do this when Will is dead? Like, I don't see how they can do a whole nother book, but I actually found it really good. I gave it 4 out of 5 stars, so again, really good. And I will read you the back of the book. So it says, Lou Clark has a lot of questions, like how is it she ended up working in an airport bar watching other people jet off to new places, or why the flat she's owned for a year still doesn't feel like home, whether her family can even forgive her for what she did 18 months ago, and will she ever get over the love of her life. What Lou does know for certain is that something has to change. Then one night it does. But does the stranger on her doorstep hold the answers Lou is searching for, or just more questions? And then there's a bit more. So basically, it goes on from Lou's life after Will. You're wondering, what is she going to do now? Will she ever find love again? Basically, Will's daughter that he never knew turns up on his doorstep. So that is sort of the main premise of the book, and also it follows, will Lou fall in love again, that sort of thing. How will she move on with her life? What will she do next? Again, like I said, I'm pretty jet lagged, so I'm sorry if this is all coming out in like a spew of talk and nothing's really making sense. The next book I read was How to Find Love in a Bookshop by Veronica Henry. This was just sort of, I picked it up off Amazon because I wanted a few sort of easy sort of chick lit reads to watch. And I gave this 3 out of 5 stars, so it was an okay book. It's basically about this girl called Amelia, and her dad dies and he owns a bookshop, and it's basically her being left with this bookshop wondering whether she wants to carry on the family tradition of looking after this bookshop, and she finds out that her dad has left her in quite a bit of debt with this shop. He had quite a lot of unsolved debts. And she's wondering, should she carry on this bookshop because everyone in the community loves it, or whether she should sell it to this man that wants to literally tear it down and build flats. It was an okay book, that's why I only gave it 3 or 5 stars. Nothing completely blew my mind off about it, but again, if you like sort of books set in bookshops, which I do, if you like books that are set in like quiet little villages, this is probably a book for you. The next book I read was by Sophie Helyn, and it is The Secret Dream World of a Shopaholic, also known as The Confessions of a Shopaholic. Obviously I've watched the film a couple times. My mum has read pretty much all of the Shopaholic books, I believe. I only ended up giving this 2 out of 5 stars. Not only is it like pretty chick lit and that whole girly romance sort of thing, I just didn't enjoy it as much as I did the film, and I think that's probably where the problem lied with it. I know it's so popular, this book, and I thought I would love it as much as everyone else does. And as much as like the storyline is basically the same, it just didn't have the same... I didn't sympathise with the character as much as I did in the film, basically. I thought like she just needs to stop shopping, whereas in the film you can tell that it's like a serious addiction that she has. If you like the film, it's worth giving it a read. I may or may not pick up the other books just so I can see how her story pans out, but I'm in no rush to sort of pick up the other Shopaholic books. So I got this book, which is The Love of a Lifetime by Melissa Hill, and I gave this 4 out of 5 stars. This is a book based in New York, and it's a girl called Beth who, she's in like her passion of a job, which is like in a shoe shop, and her boyfriend Danny, like she always thought she'd marry him, thought she'd have like the Hollywood ending, but he starts acting quite suspicious, and she goes to work and she meets this guy who was working in another department who she gets a bit flirty and friendly with, and then one day at work she gets this random coffee cup with this random note in it, and it basically takes you on a treasure hunt through the book, and she goes to all these different locations which are sort of related to movies that she's really liked, and the book sort of, you're guessing, is it her boyfriend Danny? Is it this new guy she's met in the department store? Is it someone completely random? It's just like the whole book leaves you sort of guessing, and there's different moments where you're like, yep, I knew it was that person. Or yep, I thought it was that person. And at some point you think, yeah, I knew I was right about that. But then the book will change, and like literally right up to the end, you think you've got it planned out and sussed out, and then it like completely turns on its head. So I really enjoyed this book. The ending is sort of a bit naff in the sense that it's not what you want it to be. You do want it to have this whole happy ending. And it does in a sense, but it doesn't. Enjoy this book. It is, again, another like quick read, romantic chick lit book, but the fact that it's got this whole like mystery element, I really enjoyed about it. And then the last 3 books I got to show you are ones that I got from the hotel at our concierge desk, and most of them in the hotel they have a little tray where you can swap out books with other people that have been there. So I read these 2 books. I did end up just taking them and didn't give the other books back because I knew I wanted to have these to show you for the video. The first one I read was Killer Diamonds by Rebecca Chance, and actually I don't know if I would have picked up any of these books had it been in a bookshop, but when they're there and you've still got about a week left, or just under a week, and you've got no books to read, you sort of get into desperate mode. So I got this one, which is Killer Diamonds by Rebecca Chance, and this is about an Oscar-winning legend, pretty much, called Vivian Winter. And she is going to auction off her multi-million dollars worth of jewellery for a charity, and it's all about how she goes about selling them. It talks a bit about her life back in her heyday when she was like in the movies and romance. It's got about her how she didn't really bring up her child that well, neither did she bring up her grandson that well. Her grandson now wants the heir to her fortune and tries to like scheme her. I didn't think I'd enjoy this as much as I did, but it was quite sort of gripping. There was an element of romance and mystery, and I really actually enjoyed this in the end. And I think the book is a bit deceptive. You think it's going to be a really girly book, and it is in a sense, but like I said, I don't think I would have picked this up had I just seen the front cover. I will say though, if you are anywhere under the age of 16 or even 18, like depending on your maturity level, this is very graphic in a sexual sense. They talk a lot about sex in detail. Yeah, I was quite blown away by it. I mean, I'm not a prude or anything, but it's just unusual for me. Like, I don't go out to read 50 Shades of Grey. But, you know, it was an interesting read round the pool. And yeah, so I did enjoy reading that. The next book I read, which I gave 5 out of 5 stars for, was The Missing by C.L. Taylor. Really enjoyed this. It's about a family in which one of their sons go missing, and it's trying to figure out, it's like 6 months along the line from when he's been missing, and the mother and father obviously trying to still figure out what's happened to their son. They've put in another appeal. Just really enjoyed it. It was, again, had that mystery element in which you'll second guess pretty much every character. You think they could be related to why he was missing, and you also have this like little bit of dialogue in between, if I can find some, in which their son Billy, who's missing, is talking online to this guy or girl, we're not quite sure who. I did think he was like having a gay relationship with someone. I won't say whether he was or wasn't, but again, I didn't expect the ending that it had, and it did leave you, like, it doesn't sort of give it away as you go along. Sometimes with mystery books you get like halfway and you're like, yeah, I know what's going to happen. Or you sort of get to a couple chapters towards the end and you're like, yeah, I know what's going to happen. But this, it really does leave you up to the last few, like, the last chapters to the last few pages of what is happening. So I really enjoyed this. I do want to read some of C.L. Taylor's other books. I think she's got a really great writing style. So I enjoyed reading that. And then the last book, which I'm still reading but I thought I'd mention anyway, is We Were on a Break by Lindsay Kelk. This is about a couple that go on holiday to Mexico, which was perfect. And it's probably why that person brought it up when they heard that she was in Mexico. She thinks that he's going to propose to her because she'd heard from her best friend, who's also her boyfriend's brother's wife, that he was going to propose while they're away. Well, the proposal never came while they're away, and they're now caught saying that they're on a break. They've both asked to take a break from each other. So yeah, I'm about halfway through, and yeah, I will probably let you know at some point how I got on with that in my December reads. So yeah, I don't actually know how much I'm going to be reading in December, because obviously I've got a really busy few weeks before Christmas, but hopefully over Christmas I'll read a couple. But yeah, I now need to find space to put all these books and decide which ones I want to get rid of and ones I want to keep. Yeah, so I hope you enjoyed this video. If you've read any of these books, let me know. If there's anything you might want to pick up now, leave a comment in the comment section down below, and I will see you in our next video. Bye guys!